Welcome back, dear students. Today I'll teach you a renowned short story written by Anton Chekhov. So, before that, let me tell you something regarding Anton Chekhov. He was a Russian playwright and a short story writer who is considered to be among the greatest writers of short story in history. And The Beggar by Anton Chekhov is a story of a beggar named Lashkov. While begging, he met an advocate, Sergei, who gave him work. Sergei asked him to cut wood at his house, and he asked the cook to show him the shed where wood was kept. The beggar was too weak and was under the influence of alcohol, and he could barely stand on his feet. Still, the cook, Olga, told Sergei that the wood had been chopped. Sergei was glad that the man worked and paid him 50 kopecks for chopping the wood. He asked him to come on the first day of every month for it. Sometimes he asked him to shovel the snow or to set the wood in the shed or to dust the rugs. He would pay him between 20 to 40 chopeks and once gave his old trousers to him too. When Sergei shifted his house, he employed the beggar to help in transporting the articles. The beggar had changed as he was sober that day, and Sergei felt satisfied that his efforts had paid in reforming a drunkard. As he could read and write, Sergei asked his name, offered him better work, and shook hands with him. After that day, Lashov, the beggar, was never seen. After 2 years, Sergei was buying a ticket outside a theater and spotted Leshkov. Leshkov was well dressed and was buying a ticket of the gallery area. Sergei was glad to see him and called him. Leshkov was now working as a notary and earned 35 rubles a month. He thanked Sergei for helping, and after that, Lashkov told Sergei that it was not for him but for his cook Olga that he had changed himself. And she would scold him, cry for him, and chop the wood for him. Her behavior transformed Lashkov, and with this, he went to the theater. This is a summary of this short story, and the names of the characters are different because they all are Russian characters, and even the uh, amounts he is mentioning here, that is also in Russian language. That is why the words might be new for you. And now I'll explain the lesson in detail. The Beggar. Kind sir, have pity, turn your attention to a poor hungry man. For 3 days I have had nothing to eat. I haven't 5 chopeks for the lodging. I swear it before God. For 8 years I was a village school teacher, and then I lost my place through injuries. I feel a victim to calumny. It is a year now since I have had anything to do. So here we can see a man was begging alms, and he said that he had not eaten anything for the last 3 days. He hadn't eaten anything for the last 3 days, and he did not even had 5 chopeks to pay for a room to spend at night. And he swore by God that he spoke the truth, and he had been a school teacher in a village for 8 years but lost that job due to the conspiracy of his colleagues. And for the last 1 year, he was without work. The advocate Sergei looked at the ragged, fawn-colored overcoat of the suppliant, at his dull, drunken eyes, at the red spot on either cheek, and it seemed to him as if he had seen this man somewhere before. So here we can see an advocate named Sergei who was looking at the light brown colored coat of the beggar. And the beggar had dull, drunken eyes. There were red spots on both his cheeks, and Sergei felt that he had seen the man before. I have now had an offer of a position in the province of Kaluga, the mendicant went on, but I haven't the money to get there. Help me kindly, I am ashamed to ask, but I am obliged to my circumstances. The beggar continued that he had got an offer of a job in the state of Kaluga in Russia, and he did not have enough money to travel to the place, and he wanted help, though he felt ashamed asking for it, but his circumstances forced him to do so. Sergei's eyes fell on the man's overshoes, one of which was high and the other low, and he suddenly remembered something. Sergei saw the man's shoes, both of them had varying heel size, and he remembered something. Look here, it seems to me I met you the day before yesterday in Sadovia Street, he said, but you told me that you were a student who had been expelled and not a village teacher. Do you remember? He said that the day before the previous day he had seen the same beggar at Savodia Street. Then the beggar had said that he was a student who had been removed from the institution and not that he was a school teacher, and he asked the beggar if he remembered it. No, that can't be so, mumbled the beggar. Taken aback, I am a village school teacher, and if you like, I can show you my papers. So the beggar was shocked and spoke softly that it was not possible, and he resorted that he was a school teacher and could show his documents as proof. Have done with lying. You called yourself a student and even told me that you have been expelled for. Don't you remember? So again, Sergey, the lawyer, said that he had lied enough, and he added that the beggar had told him that he was a student and had even told the reason for getting expelled from his institution. And Sergey flushed and turned from the rat creature with an expression of disgust. So here, Sergey totally denied the words of the beggar, and he just went away with an expression of disgust. This is dishonesty, my dear sir, he said angrily. This is swindling. I shall send the police for you, damn you. So here we can see he is screaming that the beggar was dishonest and he was a cheat, and Sergey could hand him over to the police. Sir, he said, laying his hand on the heart, the fact is, I was lying. I am neither a student nor a school teacher. All that was a fiction. Formerly, I sang in a Russian choir and was sent away for drunkenness. But what else can I do? I can't get along without lying. No one will give me anything when I tell the truth. What can I do? The beggar confessed that he was lying. He was neither a teacher nor a student, and he had been a singer in a Russian group and was removed due to his drinking problem. He lied because people would not give him alms if he told the truth. What can you do? You asked what you can do? Cried Sergey, coming close to him. Work. That is what you can do. You must work. So here Sergey screamed at the man and said that he could work instead of lying. Work, yes, I know that myself, but where can I find work? So the beggar said that he knew he should work, but there was no work for him. How would you like to chop wood for me? Now Sergey asked if he would chop wood for him. I wouldn't refuse to do that, but in these days, even skilled woodcutters find themselves sitting without bread. So here the beggar wanted to chop wood, but said that even skilled woodcutters were out of work, so and who would employ him for it? Will you come and chop wood for me? Yes, sir, I'll. Very sure. We will soon find out. Sergey hastened along, rubbing his hands. He called his cook out of the kitchen. So here we can see Sergi said that his willingness to work would be judged soon, and he walked off rubbing his hands and called the cook from the kitchen. Here, Olga, he said, take this gentleman into the woodshed and let him chop wood. The scarecrow of a beggar shrugged his shoulders as if in perplexity and went resolutely after the cook. It was obvious from his giant that he had not consented to go and chop wood because he was hungry and wanted work, but simply from pride and shame, and because he had been trapped by his own words. It was obvious too that his strength had been undermined by vodka, and that he was unhealthy and did not feel the slightest inclination for toil. Here we can see the lawyer asked Olga to take the man to the woodshed and let him chop wood. And the beggar resembled a scarecrow, and his reluctance to go to the shed was signified by his act of shrugging his shoulders. And he followed the cook hesitantly. He was hesitant because he was hungry, and although he wanted to work, he did not feel energetic enough to do it. As he had promised Sergi, he had to go for work, and he did not feel strong enough because he was under the influence of the alcohol and was not fit to do any hard work. Sergi hurried into the dining room. From his windows one could see the woodshed and everything that went on in the yard. Standing at the window, Sergi saw the cook and the beggar come out into the yard by the back door and make their way across the dirty snow to the shed. Olga glared wrathfully at her companion, shoved him aside with her elbow, unlocked the shed, and angrily banged the door. So here, Sergi went to the dining room to look outside the window, and he could see the woodshed and the yard. And he saw the cook and the beggar in the yard. They walked to the shed. The cook, Olga, stared at the beggar angrily and pushed him with her elbow and shut the door. Next, he saw the pseudo teacher seat himself on a log and become lost in thought with his red cheeks resting on his fist. The woman flung down an axe at his feet, sprang angrily, and judging him from the expression of her lips, began to scold him. The beggar resolutely pulled a billet of wood towards him, set it up between his feet, and tapped it feebly with the axe. The billet wavered and fell down. The beggar again pulled it to him, blew on his freezing hands, and tapped it with his axe cautiously. As if afraid of hitting his overshoe or of cutting off his finger, the stick of wood again fell to the ground. So here the lawyer saw the beggar who had lied that he had been a teacher sitting on a log of wood, and he sat with his cheeks resting on his fist. Olga threw the axe towards him and scolded him, and the beggar pulled the piece of wood towards him, placed it between his feet, and hit it weakly with the axe. The wood shook and fell. He pulled it up again, tried to warm up by his hands by blowing into them, and again tapped the wood with the axe. He was careful not to hit his shoes or cut his finger, and the wood fell once again. Sergi's anger had vanished now, and now he began to feel a little sorry and ashamed for himself for having set a spoiled, drunken, perhaps sick man to work at menial labor in the cold. So here Sergi was not angry at the beggar any longer, and he felt sorry and ashamed of himself to put the poor man at hard work in such cold weather, despite the fact that he was not fit enough to do it. An hour later, Olga came in and announced that the wood had all been chopped. So, good, give him half a ruble, said Sergi, and if he wants to, he can come back and cut the wood on the first day of each month. We can always find work for him. Now we can see Sergi was glad that the beggar had done the work, and he asked Olga to pay him half a ruble. And he added that she could tell him to come on the first day of every month to cut wood, and they could give him some work. On the first of the month, the waif made his appearance and again earned half a ruble, although he could barely stand on his legs. From that day on, he often appeared in the yard, and every time work was found for him. So here we can see the beggar turned up on the first of the month and got a half a ruble, although he was heavily drunk and could not even stand on his feet, and he went there for work often. Could shovel snow, now put the wood shed in order, and now beat the dust out of rugs and mattress. Every time he received from 20 to 40 chopaks, and once even a pair of old trousers were set out to him. So here we can see the beggar would do various jobs like shoveling the snow, set the wood in the shed, beat the rugs to remove the dust, and he earned 20 to 40 chopaks for it. And once Sergi gave him a pair of trousers too. When Sergi moved into another house, he hired him to help in the packing and hauling of the furniture. This time the waif was sober, gloomy, and silent. He hardly touched the furniture and walked behind the wagons, hanging his head, not even making a pretense of appearing busy. He only shivered in the cold and became embarrassed when the carters jeered at him for his idleness, his feebleness, and his tattered fancy overcoat. After the moving was over, Sergi sent for him. So here we can see Sergi had shifted to another house and hired the beggar to help in moving the articles like furniture. Now the man was not under the influence of alcohol, and he was sad and remained quiet. He hardly took part in moving the furniture, and he simply walked behind the vans with his head hanging low, and did not even pretend to be busy. He shivered due to the cold weather and seemed embarrassed when other workers made fun of him for being idle, weak, and laughed at his own torn overcoat. And when the work was complete, Sergi called the beggar. Well, I'm happy that my words have taken effect, he said, handing him a ruble. Here is for your pains. I see you are sober and had no objection to work. What's your name? So here, Sergi said that he was happy to see the change in the behavior of the beggar due to his scoldings, and he gave him a ruble for his labor and asked him his name, as he had left drinking and was willing to work too. So he replied, his name is Lashkov. Well, Lashkov, I can now offer you some other cleaner employment. Can you write? I can. Then take this letter to a friend of mine tomorrow, and you will be given some copying to do. Work hard, don't drink, and remember what I have said to you. Goodbye. So here, Sergi handed him a letter to be delivered to a friend of his, and Sergi's friend could give copying work to Lashov, and he instructed him to work hard, and they parted. Pleased at having put a man on the right path, Sergi tapped Lashov kindly on the shoulder and even gave him his hand at parting. Lashov took the letter, and from that day forth came no more to the yard for work. So here, Sergi was happy that he had reformed a man, and he tapped Lashov on his shoulder and shook hands with him. Lashov went away with the letter and never returned. 2 years went by. Then one evening, as Sergi was standing at the ticket window of a theatre paying for his seat, he noticed a little man beside him with a coat collar of curly fur and a worn sealskin cap. This little individual timidly asked the ticket seller for a seat in the gallery and paid for it in copper coins. So here, after 2 years, one evening when Sergi was standing at the ticket window of a theatre, and he was buying a ticket, and he saw Lashov standing next to him, and he was well dressed, wore a coat, the collar was made of fur, and wore a cap made of seal skin. And he was shy as he asked for a ticket of the gallery seat and paid for it in coins made of copper. Lashov Is that you? Cried Sergey, recognizing in the little man his former wood chopper. How are you? What are you doing? How is everything with you? All right, I'm a notary now and I'm paid 35 rubles a month. So now Sergey recognized Leshov and met him, and he asked how he was and what was he doing and how everything was going. And Leshov replied that he was fine and now he's working as a notary and he got paid 35 rubles a month. Thank heaven, that is fine. I'm delighted for your sake. I'm very, very glad, Leshov. You see, you are my godson in a sense. I gave you a push along the right path, and do you remember what a roasting I gave you? I nearly had you sinking into the ground at my feet that day. Thank you, old man, for not forgetting my words. So here Sergey was glad and thanked God for reforming the beggar. And he said that he considered Leshov to be his godson because it was due to his scolding that the beggar had changed. And that day the beggar had been at his feet asking for mercy, and he was glad that Leshov did not forget his words. I am very glad indeed. Thank you for your kind words and deeds, and I am very grateful to you and to your cook. God bless that good and noble woman. You spoke finely then, and I shall be indebted to you to my dying day, but strictly speaking, it was your cook Olga who saved me. So he thanked Sergey for his kindness. The beggar, the no reform man, thanked Sergey for his kindness, and he was grateful to the cook. She was a noble woman, and although Sergey had been kind to him, it was Olga who saved him and reformed him. How is that? So now he asked Sergey how he felt about the truth. When I used to come to your house to chop wood, she used to begin, "Oh, you thought you, oh, you miserable creature, there is nothing for you but ruin." And then she would sit down opposite me and grow sad, look into my face and weep. "Oh, you unlucky man, there is no pleasure for you in this world, and there will be none in the world to come, you drunkard. You will burn in the hell, oh, you unhappy one." And so she would carry on. In that strain, I can't tell you how much misery she suffered, how many tears she shed for my sake. So here, uh, the reform man is just describing how he got rich. He's telling that when he used to come to the lawyer's house, Olga used to scold him very badly, and she even shed tears for him, and that only reformed him. But the chief thing was, she used to chop the wood for me. Do you know, sir, that I did not chop one single stick of wood for you? She did it all. Why this saved me, why I changed, why I stopped drinking at the sight of her, I cannot explain. I know that, owing to her words and noble deeds, a change took place in my heart. She set me right and shall never forget it. However, it is time to go now. There goes the bell. Leshov bowed and departed to the gallery. So now Leshov continued that he would visit the place, that when he would visit the place to chop wood, Olga scolded him very badly, and she would feel sad for him and wept. And she felt very sad for him and would chop all the wood for him, and her behavior changed him. Just then the bell rang, and Leshov bowed to Sergey and left for the gallery to the theatre. So this is all about the lesson, and I hope you understood it completely. And at the last, I'll be sharing the word meanings of the difficult words. And if you have any doubt, please do clear it at the earliest. Thank you.